We're going to keep things moving here on Box to Row, joined by a gentleman in his 11th season as the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State. The Spartans winners of their last two ball games. And as a matter of fact, on Saturday, going to be at home taking on Coppin State. Robert Jones, again, the head men's basketball coach of the Spartans, joins us here on the program. Haven't seen you, hadn't talked to you in the new year. Happy New Year, Coach Jones. What's going on?
Happy New Year to you too, brother. Everything is going all right, man. No complaints really.
Yeah, and you're always in the mist, right? You may have lost the conference game, but look, it's the up and downs of the conference. You've won two straight games, as a matter of fact, beating Howard, the defending champs, on this past Saturday. Your thoughts in terms of how your team has played to this point? You're 12-8 on the season.
I think we played pretty well. I mean, we have the best overall record in the MEAC. We've had a tough non-conference schedule, just like most of the MEAC teams do have, but we've been fortunate enough to get some good quality wins. And I know the VCUs and Illinois States and South Dakota State was a really, really quality win because they picked to win their league. And a couple other wins we've got, William and Mary, things like that. So I think that we've had a good non-conference slate, and now trying to get into this dogfight they call the MEAC conference, and hopefully we can come out on top of that as well.
Yeah, VCU right up the road from you. I mean, that's a really, really good win as well. Speak to me about the win. Your last win against Howard. They're the defending tournament champs. They beat you in the championship, in the MEAC tournament championship game on last year. Your thoughts on that victory over Howard this past Saturday?
I just showed a lot of guts the team had because people see the article and they're like, okay, you came back down from 15 and won the game. But actually, it was like two times we came back. We came back from 15, cut to 3, and then it actually went back up to 11, and then we cut it again, down to win the game. So it was like we almost had two double-digit comebacks in one half, to win that basketball game. So it's a credit to these guys, and we're 20 games into the season right now, but every game with a team that got 8 new players is a game that's a new experience, So it's like we're still learning and growing as a team. There's no finished product by any means. We still got 11 games and hopefully another 3 in the scope to try to, get to a finished product. But and even then, I guess, we're going to just be as best as we can be, So it's definitely an experience that, showing the guys that something that we preach a lot, that the game is never over until the buzzer sounds. But I think it really showed, over the weekend that the game is never over. You're up 15, you're up 11. We know up 11 with 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left, something like that. And the game is never over until that buzzer goes 0-0-0. So it just showed the guys that.
Yeah, in 11 years as the head men's coach, of course, you had been there, as an assistant coach some previous years, including that run where you all knocked off Missouri in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Had you ever had 8 new players?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
But the thing that's a little different, we had 7 one time. A couple years ago, we had 7. Actually, the year 2021, when we won the championship, I think we had 7 new guys or something. But the thing is, it's a little different, though, is that there wasn't a lot of continuity from the year before with this group. Like with that group, we still had like Joe Bryant returning. We had like the kid Devontae Carter return that year. So like it was some guys, some like pillars to really hold the fort down and show the new guys the way. With us this year, it's been like, we got, I think we had 7 returnees, I think, or maybe we might have 8 returnees as well. But it's like those guys weren't the star power. Like they were kind of like the guys that were like on the bench, the role players. Some had very, very limited roles. So really, with 8 new guys and those 8 guys, everybody's been thrusted into a whole new role this season. So it's been totally different in that regard with the players.
Robert Jones again in his 11th season as the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State as he joins us here on BOXTOROW. Look, Coach Jones, I hadn't had a chance to talk with you. I got to take you back to December 9th, about a month and a half ago at Illinois State. Very unfortunate circumstances, a situation that happened. Your guys won the game. There was some racial epithets hurled at your players. Can you take us through what happened and if there was, in fact, any resolution in your mind?
the resolution was that we just, kind of just moved past it. Really, it was no like super resolution that was that was done. I know they said they was doing an investigation about what happened, and to their credit, someone from the administration actually did reach out to us like a week ago. But my thing is that at this point, man, that's 6 weeks ago. It's like, what investigation are you really doing at this point? Like, and if you are, and they probably all wanted to do one, so I can't say that they didn't want to do one, but it's like, what is it going to do, at this point, so, I think that they identified the two gentlemen that said the thing. So hopefully those guys are banned from Illinois State games. Hopefully they actually did that. I don't know for sure or not, but I know those two guys have been identified. But yeah, it was an unfortunate situation. Hopefully it doesn't happen to us again, anytime soon. And hopefully it doesn't happen to any other team anytime soon as well.
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate situation. Last thought on that. I believe afterwards you mentioned that, it was the coach didn't make note of it. I think you mentioned, you correct me if I'm wrong, that you had really nothing to say to him. You really weren't going to speak to him any further. Do you still stand by that? In other words, was there a situation maybe that he wasn't aware? I'm just asking, I wasn't there, that he wasn't aware of actually what had happened?
Oh, it could have been. I mean, he could have not been aware, but once I tell you what happened, like, so if you say that you didn't hear me during the half court exchange, because maybe tempers are flaring, you feel whatever you feel in that moment. I'm trying to explain something to you. You don't want to hear it maybe at that point. I get it. We've all been in, I guess, arguments or fights or whatever the case is at some point in your life that you don't want to hear what the other party has to say. But then on the handshake line, when things were a little calmer, and I'm telling you, what happened. I'm giving you play by play of what, because you can see the exchange that we had, on the handshake line, like we're talking, like it wasn't as heated as the half court thing, but we're sitting there talking for like a good 2 minutes, about like what happened, and I'm telling you, hey man, this is what happened. Now that now that's the time to make things right. Because if you didn't know, okay, let's say you didn't know, that's cool. You didn't know. Your temper was going. You riled up. They were losing the game, so everybody's fired up. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But at the same time, now that you had a chance, like I said before, to come around to the locker room and say, "Hey, man, we apologize." Clearly, you didn't do it, but you still, as the man in charge, you kind of still apologize on behalf of everybody. I mean, and then you had a chance in your press conference to do it too, and you just went a different route. So that's why it's more that I don't have that much to say to him, anything to say to him, because once again, if you didn't hear me the first time, that's fine. You didn't hear me. All right, we'll take that for what it's worth. But you heard me the second and third time when we were just talking.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's talk personnel. Like, you've got some guys that are really scoring the basketball. Jamari Thomas, 17.5 points per game. Talk about his play. I mean, he's shooting 39% from 3-point range, 84% from the field. I mean, if you've had some good players, and you've had some really good players to come through. Joe Thomas being really your more recent, really good player. This guy's playing some good basketball for you.
Yeah. And people compare him and Joe Bryant all the time about who does what, who's better, things like that. Because Joe is the guy that just left here, and 2-time Player of the Year. And Jamari Thomas's stats are very similar to Joe Bryant's stats. I think they're just different players, man. They just did things differently. Like, Joe was a real smooth basketball player. He had almost like an old man's game, but it was real smooth. And he could get a bucket at any point, and Jamari could get a bucket too. But it's just like more like a herky-jerky stop and go. He's more athletic than Joe, but it's like he might not be as smooth as Joe was. But he draws fouls and does things like that. And like I always say, man, I don't care if you could be real smooth like Joe, or you could be like a foul drawer like Jamari. If the production is the same, I'll take it either way. So he's come in and he's done a great job of filling those Joe Bryant shoes, which is tough to fill.
Yeah, that Joe Bryant, man, had some guys, Pender. I mean, you had some really good guys to really come, through that Norfolk State program. The before I even talk about Coppin State, the MEAC, 8 teams in the MEAC, tough competition. You guys were right there last year, as I mentioned, with Howard and so forth. Just your thoughts. You've been in the MEAC now as a head coach, now 11 years. Your thoughts maybe as to where the MEAC is competition-wise.
I think the MEAC is probably tougher now. And people might not understand that, because it's like, okay, it's less teams or whatever the case is. So yeah, your odds of winning a championship has increased. That's a fact. That's just regular math, right? But it's like the teams are like better now. Like I think some of the teams before there was some fluff a little bit. Now, granted, you lose a team like Hampton A&T, which was traditionally good. I think that FAMU was up and down, but it was, good. But Thune was just, okay here and there and stuff like that. But I think that when it was 13 teams, for real, I don't know why it was like that. It's like that 12th, 13th seed really wasn't any good. You can almost chalk up some victories against those 11th, 12th, 13th teams, But now with 8 teams, it's like everybody's good, man. It's like, you can't, like the guys we were telling them today, yeah, Coppin is 2-15, But yet in the MEAC play, I think their average margin of victory or loss, I should say, because they're thinking 1-2 or 1-3 or whatever, is that, it's like a 4-point game, 2-point game, 5-point game, stuff like that in conference play, because everybody plays different schedules. A team like Coppin plays like almost like $1 million worth of guarantees. It's probably gonna be hard for many teams in the country to have an over 500 record playing $1 million worth of guarantee games. So you can't even look at the 2-15. You almost take that, throw it out the window, and you just look at like the 1-2. That they are in conference, or 1-3, or whatever it might be. You look at that stuff, and they're going to be a solid team. So okay, so you go like that. Technically, a 2-15 team is actually a pretty solid team. Like in the conference play. And then of course you got your traditional powers like us, Central. Howard, of course. Morgan is always knocking on the door. And then Eastern Shore made a jump last year. Del State is shocking everybody this year. And I actually called that earlier to like colleagues. I said that Del State was going to be better. One, because people look at, okay, Howard was a defending champ. We were the runner-ups. We got this guy. We got this guy. Del State had the most returning guys out of anybody in the league. So they had the most continuity out of anybody in the league. Look at the teams last year. We lost 4 out of our top 5 scorers. We're actually lucky to be in the position that we're in, thanks to, I guess, we got some good guys recruiting. 4 out of the top 5 scorers. We got Central lost a lot of people. Howard lost a whole bunch of people. So it's like, Del State had the most guys returning.
Yeah, no doubt. Your schedule, you mentioned Coppin State maybe close to $1 million in guarantees. Speak to your schedule. You have a nice schedule, a good mix, right? Like I said, maybe the Power 5 that you have on the schedule is Tennessee. Yeah. But kind of speak to how you made out your schedule this year. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of guarantee games.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's more guarantee games than people think. Some of those games on there were guarantee games. We were just fortunate to win. So like VCU was our biggest guarantee game. They gave us $85,000. Like just because it was up the road, like that still was a guarantee game, our biggest one. They gave us more than Tennessee gave us. Like Tennessee was 80,000, even though Tennessee is, clearly the better team. But VCU was our biggest financial guarantee game. So like Illinois State was a guarantee game. That was a $70,000 guarantee game. Even though we lost, Stony Brook was a guarantee game. That was $35,000 guarantee game. So like, and I know I'm missing a couple, so 1 or 2 more. Wichita State was like an $80,000 guarantee game. So with us, yeah, we're in a different financial space that we don't have to do $1 million worth of guarantees, and stuff like that. Like, our number is way lower than that. But it's still around that 300,000 range that we have to bring in. But once again, that makes a huge difference because 700,000 in guarantees is like another 8-9 games that you're probably going to lose. So we play our guarantee games, and then that 8 or 9 games that other teams like Coppin will probably lose. Now we can schedule like opponents. We can schedule your William and Marys. We can schedule the Hamptons. We can schedule teams like that. That now we can go out and now compete. We can go to Paradise Jam, and play against Gulf Coast and those guys, stuff like that. So now we can, we can take advantage of that and beat some of these mid majors to get us the record that we have and the rankings, and like we're like 60, 70 points ahead of everybody in like NCAA net rankings and things like that because of beating VCU, because of beating Illinois State, because of beating William and Mary, those guys like that. But other teams in our league don't get that same opportunity because they have to play, all these guarantee games.
Does this team, where it sits, couple more thoughts. Robert Jones, the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State. Again, the season's not complete. You're 20 games in, a little bit more than halfway through the season, if you will. You still have tournament and possibly some basketball after the tournament. So about halfway, we'll say about halfway.
Yeah.
Does this team, where it sits, remind you of any of your previous, 11 years as the head coach? 10 years, I should say.
Not really. I think this team that we might not have it's like a lot of times my teams are like top heavy. Well, like we got we got three, usually got 3 or 4 like really good players, that you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to deal with those 3 or 4 players all night, right? But for us, I think that we got Jamari and Alan Beatran kind of shoulder some of the scoring load for us. But it's hard for teams just to take away just those 2 guys and expect us to struggle. Because now I think we had like 6 guys, or 6 or maybe 7 guys between like 6 and 9 points, something like that. So it's like this depth of this team is way better than some of my other teams. Like I could literally go 10 guys, a 10-man rotation easily. I could probably go an 11-man rotation easily, Now, granted, everybody might not be happy because you're not gonna play that many minutes, but it's like I could easily do that, and we wouldn't have like that much drop off at all. So it doesn't really remind me of a lot of my other teams because, like I said, like even last year, we have 4 double-digit scorers, but then after that, you saw it was like the next guy was like 4 points a game. So it was like we have 4 guys that's really shouldering like all the scoring, and then it's like different. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. So you're saying this team is it may be as talented as any of the other teams. I mean, at least sounds like maybe that's what you're saying. At least from a balanced scoring perspective.
No, without question. I think we have a good a shot as any team, any team that I ever had to win a championship. And, and the thing is that to win a championship is like, yeah, you got to be good. And I think that we're going to be like, we're good. Like compared to the rest of the league, if you line us up, there's no team that's like that much better than us or better than us from a physical standpoint, right? But also you got to have these guys. Once again, this is still 8 new guys to get all mentally locked in. Some of these guys have never won a championship before. They don't know what it takes to win a championship. So getting them to understand what it takes to win a championship. Then also, let's face it, you got to be lucky in that scope too. You got to be good. Good is only one part of it. Luck is the next part of it too. Like you got to get the luck of the draw. Hopefully you get the right matchups for you. The ball got to bounce the right way. It's all types of things that go on in that scope. So it ain't just about being good no more. It's like he's like, once you get to that scope, you got to be good, yes, but you also got to be lucky.
Yeah. Last thought, Coppin State, you mentioned them. Not where their record would indicate they are. Your thoughts on the Eagles?
Exactly what I said, man. I think they're a better team than 2-15. I think their record is deceiving. I know a lot of people might think I'm crazy when they look at this or see this or hear this or whatever the case is. But everybody's schedule is different. I'm gonna keep reiterating that, man. Everybody's schedule is different. Coach Stewart's schedule, what he has to do for his institution and his athletic program is totally different than what I got to do. We in two different financial spaces. And that's stuff that people don't fully understand. So I do think that they play extremely hard. They're tough. But it's like with them, their brand. I mean, they almost restarted the program. After the previous coach is not there anymore. It's all new guys. They're restarting the program, putting in their own culture, their own system. So year one sometimes is always a tough year. So this is a team that we cannot just look past, right? We can't just say, oh, they're 2-15, we're 12-8. This is an easy one. No, reason why you're all in the same conference is because you're alike. This is why we're not in the Big East, because we're not like none of the teams in the Big East. We're all in the MEAC because we're a like team. So if you're in a like opponent, that's always a 50-50 game. So we got to be ready to play. It's going to feel good to be home, I'll tell you that much. We got our next, I think 5 out of 6 at home, which feels great because we were the only team in the MEAC to play our first 3 games on the road. So to come out with a 2-1 record, being the only team to play 3 games on the road, and we actually, as probably could have been 3-0. If the ball would have bounced a different way for us at Central, then that's going to hopefully bode well for us with 5 out of 6 at home.
I said last thought, but I really mean it this time because I think what's interesting is, all the teams had a 12-day gap. You chose to play a game against VUL, which kind of to your point about the money games. Now it allows for you to give a little money to play a game like that. How much did that help you, A, overall, and B, going into the Howard game?
I think it helped us a lot because it kept a game rhythm, right? Like practice is practice, and I think also at this stage when you're in late January, about to hit February, the kids won't tell you, but they're probably tired of practicing to a certain extent. You want to try to keep the guys going and try to tell them that we got to keep going and keep getting better, keep sharpening. But these kids, I was a player at one point. Like you want to play these games, right? So to have these 12 games, I think it was going to be a 10-day break or 11-day break if we didn't put that game in. That would have been torture for some of these kids. So what we did was we said, okay, we're going to play against VUL. We knew that probably wasn't going to be a challenging game from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint, can we play the same way and keep our freshness, with our mind against basically a lesser opponent, right? And also play under the whistle, play in front of fans, because it was actually a pretty good crowd there. Play in front of fans, so you got that adrenaline feel going, just to keep a game feel going, because we knew Howard was going to be a hostile environment, regardless. Everybody was making it out to be this rematch from last year and things like that, and of course they always get a pretty good crowd anyway. The thing I told my guys that this is a rematch of nothing, because a rematch is like boxing, right? So me and you have, you take the heavyweight title from me. I get a rematch. I beat you. I get the title back. That's a rematch, right? It's like I get it back. Like us winning that game the other day, that did nothing but just give us 2 wins in MEAC. Like we didn't get the title back, right. So it's kind of hard to say. And they lost so many guys from that team. We lost so many guys from our team. That probably these 2 teams are probably thinking like, what the hell is going on? Why is it such a heated game? Because they just here to play. Like it's you got like Seth Towns and those guys on the other team. They just got here. I got Jamar and these guys. They just got here. No one knows the hell everybody talking about a rematch. So I told the guys pretty much exactly what I told you. Like, hey man, this is not a rematch, man. Like we beat them, but we didn't get the title back. We got to get the title back in March. You know what I mean? Like if it comes to that point that we see them for the MEAC championship game, yes, that will be a rematch, because now it's like almost like you get a chance to get your lick back, a little bit, but that game wasn't a rematch, man. Like that was too much was made of that whole rematch thing that it's like it's not even close, man, to be a rematch of anything.
Yeah, I'm curious, how much do you give VUL for coming to see you?
I think we gave 3,000. I think.
Oh wow. Okay.
Maybe 3,500, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Like we can't afford to pay 85,000 to anybody, but for real. But Division 2 teams, once again, their budgets are different, right? So $3,500 to a Division 1 team like us or anybody else might not make that much of a dent in the budget. Like what is that? I mean, that's like probably meals on the road for like a week. It's like I don't really do anything, but for a Division 2, Division 3 team or whatever the case is, I'm not quite sure exactly what division they're in, but it's like I played Division 3 basketball, so I know that $3,500 would have made a dent in my program that I played in. So that's why you see VUL. I think they had played, if I'm not mistaken, like 10 Division 1 games. So they probably got up to 35, 45,000, depending on how much people paying them. And I'm sure that 35, 45,000 made a difference in their budget this year.
Yeah. Again, 11 seasons as the head men's basketball coach at Norfolk State is Robert Jones. His Spartans are 2-1 in MEAC play, 12-8 overall, and the Spartans are at home. As a matter of fact, Saturday against Coppin, Monday against Morgan State, the Baltimore trip. As Robert Jones joins us here on BOXTOROW. Coach Jones, look, man, appreciate you always keeping it real as you do with us. Continued success to you and the Spartans.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man.